This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. This is episode number 311, and my guest today is Jim Huntzicker. Jim is the founder of the Real Estate Investor Academy and the creator of MLS Domination. And Jim is an expert at finding and buying deals off the MLS. He truly has turned it into a craft that has worked for him to buy a lot of houses in both up and down markets. And he's here today to share some of his best tips, his best secrets with listeners of Flip Nerd about how to successfully find deals and buy deals off the MLS. Now, if you're one of those that believe that this won't work in my market, you really need to listen in today. Jim's got some great information to share. Jim even shares access to a free and awesome resource that he's going to share with members of Flip Nerd that is really a free guide on the fundamentals of how to work the MLS to find real estate deals. It's an exciting show. You're in for a real treat today. Please help me welcome Jim Huntzicker to the show. Jim, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So, I've always been fascinated I've bought hundreds of houses, and I personally have not bought a lot off the MLS, but I know there's people that have systems to do it. I know you do.
Yeah, right.
And so
right.
I'm always excited to talk about this because when a market is getting hot like it is now in the retail space, you need all the lead sources and ways to buy houses that you can. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know what? It's funny. The way you learned to become a real estate investor was you learned all the private seller marketing, which is the way a lot of people learn it, because when they start investigating how to become a real estate investor and how to find deals, that's what everybody teaches on. And
Right.
I did learn that stuff eventually. But see, when I started out, I was a real estate agent, right? And so my father was an agent, which is why I became one. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be easy, like all these big, commission checks. And the only problem was what they teach you to do at the first class once you get into your brokerage. All right, call all your friends, all your family. Well, the good part there for me, or the bad part rather, is my father used all of my friends and family already used my father.
Now we're covered.
A few exceptions to that rule, of course, but still, I was like, man, I had nothing. I was like, So my father was not getting out of the business anytime soon. This was 12 years ago now. And I had to figure out my own way. And that's how I found real estate investors. And I just kind of stumbled on it. And now for about a year and a half, I was helping real estate investors, buy their properties off the MLS. They'd fix them. I'd sell them. They'd make 30 grand. I'd make a little commission. And so it didn't take me very long to realize I was on the wrong side of that coin. So my start as a real estate investor, all I knew of a deal source was the MLS, because that's all I did. I just helped other people do it. And so once I decided to become a real estate investor myself, and let me say, be very clear about, I thought I knew a ton of stuff because I was helping these guys for a little over a year. I saw how they were running their businesses, how they were getting deals. I was getting their deals for them. I was selling them for them. I mean, heck, I was doing the hard part, right? And little did I know about how much stuff actually went into the middle. Even though I saw what they were doing, I saw the before, the after. My first deal, I had no education at all. From a real estate investor standpoint, and I picked the wrong partner, everything went wrong. And I was going to lose money in my first deal. I wasn't sure how much. I just knew I was, and I didn't have any money at the time at all, let alone money to lose. And this is part of the stuff that, what I saw was possible in the MLS. And so there was a property, I'll never forget. It was in my hometown of Schaumburg, Illinois, on Sand Pebble. It was listed for $440,000. I showed it to a client who wasn't interested. The long story short is it was updated, but it was the ugliest update you ever saw in your life. This nice old lady lived there, super, super nice, was always home when I went there. But I'll spare you all the details. I was listed for $440,000, originally $540,000. It was down to $440,000 when I bought it for $300,000. So
wow.
That's 31% off the list price. And that showed me what was possible in the MLS. Now I've done, 32% is actually my record. It was listed for $400,000. I bought it for $273,000. And, there's a dance that goes into how to get those deals. And so it's not by mistake that I got that kind of a discount. I intentionally went after it. Now, the first one I did stumble on, and the dance that I've now created that I call the dance of how to get that deal, I did the dance and didn't even realize I was doing it. I actually went to the house 4 times because I kept I didn't know my numbers. I'm like, I gotta look again. How can I pay?
Right.
And the funny thing with the first deal, I put down $5,000 earnest money. I put down $300,000 purchase price. I did not have a proof of funds. I didn't have approved funds because I didn't have any money. I didn't have the $5,000 earnest money. Now, I am not encouraging or recommending anybody do that. Does that? In fact, I think you should not. But I was desperate because I was about to lose money on my first deal, which ended up being 36 grand. But if there's a will, there's a way. So I put this offer out there expecting them to reject it. Like, I was desperate. I'm like, oh. So they came down 20,000 increments, 440, 20, 400, 380, 60. I could have paid 320 for this house, but they kept coming down. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep staying,
Yeah.
And they did come down to 300. It was as big of a surprise to the agent as it was to me. And now I had to find the $5,000 to put down for earnest money because they accepted my offer. And I had to find the rest of the way too, because I needed to buy the house now. And, if you find a deal that's that good, it was not very difficult to find the money to buy it. And so that's how I got my start. That's why the MLS has been my primary deal source for my entire investing career for the last 8 years. And I buy from wholesalers. I do some direct mail myself, but I don't do a ton of business as a rehabber. I do big rehabs. I do my average one's about 75 grand.
Yep.
And so, this year, if I do 30, that's a lot. My focus is more about lifestyle these days than it is about money. But every time I go into the MLS to get deals, I can find them. In fact, I was kind of focused on hanging out with my kids the last, few months. And all of a sudden I sold a couple of my rehabs in the same week. And I'm like, crap, I don't have anything in my private seller pipeline. I don't have any more rehabs right now. No new ones.
Right,
so I was
right.
like, crap, I got to stop what I'm doing because I was focusing on some other projects that I'm doing right now. And in a 6-day span, I bought 3 properties. And that was good. That's all I needed right then. And so it took me 6 days to find 3 properties in an MLS with very limited inventory right now. So
that's awesome.
It's just a matter of knowing how to work the deal. And that's it. There's always deals out there. People always say it's the MLS. 2 things I always hear: it's either too competitive or there's no good deals. But it can't be both, right? Is it too competitive in there for all the non-deals? I mean, come on.
Well, what would you say? Obviously, there's a lot of art to it. I know we're not going to get to all this during today, but I hope to knock some of it out because I know you got a lot of great information. I know you've got a product that you're launching right now as we speak as well.
Yep.
But we'll come back and talk about that a little bit. But I want to talk about I think probably most people, myself included, would assume that you can't get that much off of a seller's price, which is why when you look at the MLS and you're like, yeah, it's priced 20 grand below market, but if it needs any repairs, it's not it's not even worth it. So give it back in that example. Obviously, you said the updates were bad, so they had to discount it. But what were some of the keys, or maybe even not just that example, but other things that you see that cause people to take quite a bit less than what they have it listed for?
Well, being an agent, I've realized that people, sellers specifically, are not very honest with their agent. Even an agent they trust because it's the one they hired, or I shouldn't say they might trust them, but there's a level of trust, if you will. And so what I mean by that is an agent never knows what a seller's bottom line is, because what the sellers think is if they told them the real bottom line, they're going to go out there and tell all their realtor friends and bring them a low offer because that's the only offer they're going to get is from the agents this guy knows. And so they always hold their what they're willing to do. They play their cards. They hold them very tight. So knowing that, when I know there's equity, and there's market time and there's equity. Those are 2 factors that are for me, I'm going after it. And so my best deal ever, which was the one I told you, the first deal I just got that I told you about, that one took a couple days to get together. But my best deal, oddly, it was listed for $400. I bought it for $273, so it's 32% off. That was a 10-minute phone call. I called. I gave the offers and I hung up, and 10 minutes later they called and she's like, I can't believe they accepted it. Well, here's the funny thing about that is they were originally priced at $550 down to $400, 360 days on the market. So almost a full year. So this was an estate sale that was completely paid off. And the kids that were the heirs of the estate all had money of their own, and they were actually okay at $300,000. But the agent, the real estate professional they hired, told them the house was worth $550, and that's where they should list it.
Yeah.
So, who in their right mind is to say, no, you know what? You don't know what you're talking about. List it for $300.
Right.
Of course. So they were willing to take $300 the whole time, and so it's just a matter of that was a deal that was on the market for a long time. But a lot of the deals, I just did a deal last year now, priced at $299. And I bought it for $245, and I used the agent on that sale. I used the agent as my agent. So he double ended the deal. He was a listing agent and and the buyer's agent. Now I'm a licensed agent in Illinois, but I rarely act as my own agent on deals that I'm buying as a real estate investor. Only when I'm forced to. So And he was even my agent. And so he was making the commission. And when I told him the most I could pay was $245, oh, that'll never work. It's never coming together. They're listed. They just listed for $299. Whose offer did they accept? Mine. $245. Right. So they never. This guy was even making more money than the other offers that he said they were going to come higher were with other agents. He still did not feel like my offer. He was like, I was wasting his time. So you just take away from this is you never listen to what the listing agent says. They never know what the seller's bottom line is. But you got to always be super cool. You got to be confident without being cocky, and just got to know your stuff. As long as you because you will get people, agents that will drop the F-bomb, like you're wasting your time, and like they get really mad about this.
Yeah.
You always got to keep your cool, because if I didn't, I would buy a lot less houses. And I'm a typical guy that can kind of have a little bit of a hothead from time to time, but I like to make money more than I like to get angry at people. And so my anger levels, the older I get, the less I get angry, because I it's a lot easier just to be nice. But the point is, for me, back when I started, it took a lot for me to kind of but keeping calm, being cool, I got deals over and over and over.
Yeah.
These are from agents that told me it would never work. One of the examples I give is $199 it listed for. In 3 days, I bought it for $134. So,
wow.
Because people always think, well, they just listed, there's no way for it to work. And so if it's in a neighborhood I want, I'm going to go after it. But so with the MLS, you'll get about 10% of the detailed structured offers you put out. So like the MLS stuff I teach is the opposite of like an offer bot. Like people ask me a lot about offer bots. Do you like send out emails like a robot? Like, absolutely not. Will that work? I'm sure it would. Nothing I would ever waste my time on, because I don't want to burn my reputation in my MLS.
Right.
With an offer bot system, you'll get about 10% of the detailed structured offers you put out using the methods that I teach. And that so. But again, going back to direct mail. What do you get on direct mail? 3% is good, right? That's phenomenal.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be really awesome.
That's a response rate. That's not a purchase rate. You might buy 10% of those, maybe, if you're lucky, right? So, the MLS is no different. About maybe 5%, 3%, maybe 1% of the deals in the MLS are good deals for real estate investors. You just got to know how to navigate through the system to find them. That's all.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about kind of access to the MLS, because I know that's a big problem. A lot of people have. A lot of investors are not agents. And then of course, a lot of agents that are investors, especially, you're different. My wife got her license when we started investing, but she was never a traditional, agent. And so people that became an agent to facilitate their investing business are usually a different class. I'm not going to throw any agents under the bus here, because we've got a lot of agents listen to us, but if you were an agent first and you learned the business being an agent, a lot of times you just don't understand the investing side, or you think you do, but it's just a different mindset. But I think a lot of times it's probably difficult for people to transition in if they started as an agent for some period of time and then became an investor, because they believe a lot of the things that you just said don't happen. Like they think, well, yeah, they're asking this. Why would they accept 30% less? But anyway, I had a question up at the beginning here was, what about just getting access to the MLS? Because a lot of investors aren't even licensed. It's time for a quick announcement. We'll be back to the show in less than 30 seconds. PassiveRental.com is your source for turnkey, done-for-you rental properties. If you'd like to be an investor and not a landlord, please visit PassiveRental.com to learn how to purchase cash-flowing, professionally managed rental properties in the hottest rental markets across the country. We can also help connect you with financing for your next property. Invest the easy way today and get started by visiting PassiveRental.com. What about just getting access to the MLS? Because a lot of investors aren't even licensed.
Yeah, I mean, extremely, but that all ties together. I'll tie together here, right? So the MLS, right, for realtors and real estate agents, the MLS stands for the multiple listing service, right? The multiple listing service is what agents use. So it's their primary source for broker to broker marketing, right? It's called, they let everybody know about it. When I was growing up, my dad was an agent. It was a map book. It was like this thick and had like pages, 4 per page. I can't even imagine. I couldn't even do it. If it was me, I couldn't have been an agent if that was still the case.
Right.
But for real estate investors, because looking at the MLS as an agent and a real estate investor is night and day. So as an agent, multiple listing services, where they list their properties. For a real estate investor, it's the motivated list of sellers, right? MLS, motivated list of sellers. It's the largest list of motivated sellers you will ever find. I guarantee you that, right? And they're all right there for you. So once you have access to it, the listings just keep coming to you. So it's also an extremely cost-effective marketing source for deals for you, because once you're in, that's it. You don't have to pay for it. You just got to find them. You got to know how to set up the searches. You got to know how to find the right agents. And it's all just about how to navigate through the system. So access, right? First of all, I didn't used to even teach on this because I thought everybody knew it and they don't. So if you get a real estate license for your state, you can get access to their MLS, period. It's that easy. So if you have to pay for your license, whatever it is for your state, $400, $500 these days, 90 hours. Everybody becomes a broker now. There's no sales. There used to be a sales, just a sales agent. No more of that. Everybody, you're either a broker or you're a managing broker now, and you can get access. And there's fees that come for the MLS too. But that takes time now because it's 90 hours. So you could also become an assistant to an agent. And I say assistant with air quotes because I have an assistant in my business that has access to my entire MLS portal. She has her own login, her own password, it's her MLS. And she can do anything or see anything that I could see. However, I could restrict her because I'm the agent. I could say I only want her to see this, this, and this, where she can't see my listings. She can't see my client list. She can't see, whatever. I can control what she can see.
Right.
All you need the ability to do is run and save searches. That's it. You got to be able to run a search to comp properties, and you got to be able to save searches so you can set up your keyword search list. And that's how we primarily how we search, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to do. So you can become an assistant to an agent. So you got to find the right agent for that. Every agency, allows assistants, and you can have as many assistants as you want. There is no limit to it. And so you got to find an agent that's willing to do it. So a couple of my buddies that are wholesalers in my market that do not want real estate licenses, they just don't want them. It doesn't fit their business model. Guys that make some pretty big money wholesaling. So one guy pays $1,000 to the agent plus the MLS fee, and the MLS fee is $350 a year. So it costs him $1,350 a year, and he's got full access to everything he needs. The other guy pays $1,500, so he actually pays $1,850 a year. But this is how they make their money. Both these guys are full-time wholesalers. Both of these guys make over $500,000 a year wholesaling. So it's a cost of doing business, and it's well worth it to them. So the assistant role is how you do it. Now, they pay because they don't want to use agents at all because they're wholesalers. But there's also using field agents, having agents that bring you deals.
Right.
Now, some of the ways I teach where I said I don't act as my own agent, I let the other agent double in the deals. So, but I also have used field agents in my business. And so once you have a field agent, usually there's a relationship there. You can get MLS access that way. Also, you should, if you're going to become a serious real estate investor, you should have a licensed agent on your team. And what I mean by that is, and in my team, it's me, right? But somebody who does not profit from commission. Like if I do have to go down, which I do, on my investment deals as the agent in the front end, I don't keep that commission. It just goes right into the pool. I do take it at the moment, because people always ask me, what do you mean? How do you, doesn't it get paid to you? Yes, it gets paid to me, but we account for that. And so say my portion of this profit was $30,000 and my commission was $5,000. Guess what? I only get $25,000 at the end because I already got the $5,000 up front. It becomes part of the deal. If your agent is only focused on the commission and not the profit in the back end, you're not going to have an agent that's keeping their eye on the ball for what you guys are doing.
Sure.
So an agent on your team is very important. Now a field agent is different. That's just an agent that brings you deals. But you have to teach them, what we're looking for, how to use a property repair estimate sheet, just so they have an idea of what we're looking for. You got to teach them what a deal is.
Right.
But either get your license, or you should have a real estate agent on your team that's not concerned with profiting from commission, that will profit in the back end of the deal with you. If there is profit, right? Like that's part of the deal is you got to buy it right, you got to fix it right, and you got to sell it right. All things to make the profit. So if an agent is not tied to the back end profit, they don't really care what happens there. So
they don't care if you're profitable or not, right?
Exactly, it doesn't matter because they made their money in the front end already anyway.
So I don't want to miss this part because we talked about searches, like saving searches, having kind of how you structure your searches to get deals that you think are deals or potential deals to bubble up. Can you maybe talk for a couple minutes on how you do that?
Yeah, it's very simple. I mean, the searches are all run by the same thing. It is run by the remarks, and so it depends on what kind of search I'm doing. Am I looking for REOs, which REO stands for real estate owned? So you ever see REO, all it means is foreclosure. It's the same thing. REO, foreclosure, same thing. So you either have, if I'm doing a foreclosure search, an estate sale search, there's short sale search, or a regular sale search. There's different keywords we use for that specific stuff. And so
stuff that kind of makes you understand that there's probably some stress here, and they might be interested in more motivated, I guess, motivational type comments.
Exactly. You can find look through any MLS, read the remarks. Those are the remarks that are customer facing. That's what I'm talking about. So you see stuff, like estate sale that said that as is, handyman special, needs work, those type of things. I mean, I can go on and on with all the keywords, but it's very specific keywords. Excuse me. Very specific keywords that we see in all of them. I added to my estate sale one because I actually saw this. I added desperate a couple of years ago. Desperate because it said desperate seller. Like the agent put that in the comments. Like, are you kidding me? But I saw it. So it's now one of my keywords that I use in there because I saw it. I've never seen it since, and I hope I never see it again because, they were not looking out for the best interest of that particular client. But that's what they said. And what happens there? You're going to get low offers because they're desperate. We know they're desperate because you told us. It's I can't even believe. But anyway, so it's all the keywords you see. And for foreclosures, it's different. It says foreclosure a lot of times, or REO. It'll say corporate owned, which is the same thing as REO to us. But sometimes banks own it. But like a hedge fund, if they buy a pool of loans, which, for $1 billion, if one of those loans forecloses, well, now a corporation owns it, not a bank, because the corporation is the one that bought that pool of loans. That's the only difference. The buying process is really the same. So if you see corporate owned or foreclosure, really the same thing. But so there's keywords in there that, that as is. And, my area, they always say 100% taxes. They say 100% tax proration because our taxes are paid in arrears here. So just you look in your state, look at the REOs, write down keywords you keep seeing. And that is what we use. And beyond that, so we have all the remark searches. That's it. And then the rest of it is geographic, meaning do I pick the town in general? Do I pick, a price point within that town? Do I draw a map search around a specific area or neighborhood I want? And then what price point in that neighborhood? Nothing over 200. I'm in suburban Chicago. Our prices are a little higher than most markets here. But, yes. Or do we put, you put just, show me everything. But everything, you get stuff that won't fit what we do. And so I don't usually use price because I will buy anything that makes sense.
Right.
But so it's keywords and then geographic. That's it. I either pick by town, zip code, county, depending on how dense your market is. You can use any of those. And a lot of times I will like for townhomes. I usually only buy detached single family houses. I have bought some multifamily this way too that I've kept in my own portfolio. And I do buy some townhomes, but only in markets I know the area very well, that I know there's no chance of this particular townhome development going into the non-FHA approved status, because a lot of the people that are buying townhomes need it to be FHA approved. And so if it falls delinquent on like the monthly payments, which is usually how it does go delinquent, if they end up falling 15% behind, that 15% of the entire association has not bought by has not paid their dues by the 15th, it goes delinquent. The FHA cannot lend in there until they can prove that they've brought that below 15%.
Right.
So there's too much stuff out of your control, which is why I only buy in a few townhome markets that I know very well because they sell very well.
Okay. Hey, Jim, I'm going to jump to, I had this on my list of questions too, something like this, asking about where does this work and where does it not work and things like that. But I have a specific question we want to ask you that somebody asked us on Facebook. And it was a question from Shane Umstead, who his question is kind of a long question, so stick with me here.
All right.
What performance indicators are you tracking that will identify? Now he's kind of like saying in certain markets, like markets with upside, ones that are kind of flatlining or there's not a lot of opportunity, and ones that are kind of turning where there's not as much opportunity. So what kind of performance indicators do you look at to see if a market has opportunity or not, essentially?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I learned this business in a declining economy, and I like that better than the increasing economy. So it doesn't really matter. People are always looking for a reason to have a problem, the reason that doesn't work for them. And Shane was his name, right?
Yep.
Shane. I'm not saying, Shane, this is you. I'm just saying in general, people are usually, because it's difficult. What we do is not easy. And, a lot of people teach that it is easy or it should be easy. And in fact, we want to keep it hard. And when I teach that, a lot of people are like, well, why would you teach it wants to be hard? Is because we cash big checks. If it was easy, we wouldn't be able to cash big checks because everybody would do it. So First of all, we want it to be difficult. And second of all, when the market was going down, all I did was, if the house was worth $300 today, And the market was on its way down like it was the entire first 3 years of my career, really 4 probably as a real estate investor. Well, it's worth 300 today. The after repaired value, I'm just running my numbers at 280, and then I take that off of that. So I plan on selling it in 3 months at 280. And I'm fine. When I listed at 280, it sells because I was able to price it with the market downturn. Well, the market, when the market goes up, it's the same thing. It's worth 300 today. Well, maybe it's worth 305. I mean, 3 months, it's not going to be worth a lot more. And the decline, it was worth a lot less. But I also put that pad of, 10% or whatever I was using underneath it because I needed protection. So I could only pay. But guess what? There was so much inventory then, it didn't even matter. It was like I could run it and I had as many deals as I wanted. And so now the market's on its way up. It's the same thing, but it's there's more competition, less deals, but still that doesn't make a difference.
Let's focus on that. So more competition and less deals and less inventory, right? So that all makes it feel more competitive. But talk about there's no doubt it's more competitive, but you're still doing deals and you're still doing them the way largely the way you have before. So just the mindset of a seller. Let's talk about how that changes in a buyer's market versus a seller's market. Talk about that for a little bit.
Well, like the sellers, that's part of people always ask me about the low ball offers that I get submitted. My record's 32%. It was listed for 400. I bought it for 273. And as soon as I tell people that story, they say one thing to me. They say, how do you get your low ball offer submitted? And I tell them, I've never submitted a low ball offer in my life. And they always look at me like, what do you mean? How have you never seen? You just told me you did. I'm like, well, no, I didn't. That house was way overpriced. It's not my fault they had it priced way above what anybody could pay for it. That's why it wasn't selling.
Right.
This particular house on the market for 300 days. But here's what sellers have in their mind is they will not share with the agent that they hire what their true bottom line is because they think the agent is going to tell everybody they know to sell the house as fast as possible and make a commission and get out of there real quick, which sadly is probably true in some cases. The average agent in the National Association of Realtors does 3 deals a year. 3, it's a fact. And so if you only did 3 of what you do a year, how good would you actually be at that, right? Not very good. So most agents they'll do whatever it takes to get it sold quickly. And I'm saying that's what the sellers feel like they're going to do because of that. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Either way, you can never listen to what the listing agent tells you. And so, for instance,
and an agent too, just to clarify, an agent. Again, I don't want it to sound like we're throwing agents under the bus here. I always say this my wife's an agent, so
we can do it. Go ahead.
My wife is an agent, so it's okay if I say negative. So anyway, but my point is like agents have a tendency to promise the seller more than they can probably get because they want to get the listing too, right? Yeah. The seller may be willing to accept less than they listed it for, but like you said, if you think a house is worth, just make it up, $300,000, and the seller says, I think we should list it at 400, you're like, wow, okay, let's do it. And without thinking, like, nobody's going to pay that. They're not thinking that because they don't know. They're just hearing the agent say it, and the agent's like trying to make it sound as good as possible so they can get the listing, right?
Exactly. Like that happens. It's called buying the listing. That's what we call that in the industry from an agent. It's called buying the listing. You're saying you would sell it for more than it's worth than any other agent would. Like if they interviewed 3 agents, every agent's going to say, 300, 300, 300. And this guy says 500 or 400 or whatever. But it's funny you use that example because the 273 house I bought for 32% under, it was listed for 400. It was originally priced at 550, believe it or not. And it was 300, like 60 days in the market. It was down to 400. It was paid off. And so the reason you never listen to the seller's agent is because they never truly know what the seller's going to take. And frankly, they're embarrassed now at this point. It's been in the market for a year. Whatever they told them, we don't know. However they sold them, we don't know. All we know is that now they finally get an offer if this is their first one. And maybe they had other offers, who knows. But either way, the point is that say somebody was willing to take 300 the whole time, but you call a professional in and maybe only call one because 78% of people only call one agent. That's it. 78% only call one. They never interview more. So if you call in a real estate professional that knows your market and they tell you this thing's worth 550, are you going to say, no, no, list it for 300. I don't want more money. List it for 300. We don't care. Of course they're not. But still, they were willing to take 300 the whole time because it was free money because the house was paid off. So now, that's an extreme example, but it's exactly what happened to me on that house. So the agent, when I had to do a dance to get this deal, I go see it once, but they think I see it 3 or 4 times, and I call and schedule a showing the other times, and I always call for feedback. I call and give them feedback as if I went. And but what happens every time? You have a house, especially a house that's on the market for 360 days. You get a showing. and they give you. I call and give really good feedback. Actually, my wife, pre-kids, used to be in the car with me very often during this kind of thing, and I would say, she would call it my acting debut, because I would call the agent and I'd be like, oh, I love this house. I mean, I can't believe it's been on the market so long. I mean, you guys are overpriced, but I'm going to try to offer you as much as I can. I'm going to go run my numbers and see what I could do. And then I wait 2 days and I don't do anything because I already know what I could pay, and it's way less than they want, or way less than it's listed for. I schedule another showing. And after the showing, I don't go to this one. I already know what I could pay, but they need to think I want, right? And so then the agent, what happens then? The agent's going to call, oh, hey, that guy Jim, he's going back. Remember, that's the guy that really wants it. And then I call again and say, oh, man, do I like this house. I'm going to give you everything I can. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm fishing for her to ask me for an offer, or the agent, in this case, female. So this particular time, it took me four times. And I only went once. And, people always ask me when I tell a story, if they're an agent, they're like, well, what if it was an electronic lockbox? I say, well, that's great and everything, but nobody ever checks them, ever, to see if you actually use them. You schedule a showing. They don't follow to see if you went. However, it did happen to me one time. And so I will give you a tip in case you have to do this in the future for yourself, is I'm better off the cuff anyway. So it was the agent, threw me off. I was like, oh, well, the front door was open. I locked it when I left, so don't worry about it. But somebody who saw it before must have left it was closed. It wasn't open. It was just unlocked. So I was able to get in without the lockbox. But I did lock it on my way out. Don't worry about that. And so that's what I said. But either way, I've only been called on it one time. But that's your answer if you get called on it. Either way, by the fourth time, she's like, just give me an offer. We'll put this thing together. Because I kept saying I was going to be closer to 3 than I am 4, and I don't want to insult you or your client. And so then the offer was $273, and she's like, she did MF me literally. Because she was like super nice until this point too, and it took me back a bit. But
the clause came out.
It did. So, but my first deal that I got 31%. That took a couple of days. This one, I call first. I tell her the offer. She swears at me on the phone. I submit the offer because I always call. I've submitted thousands of offers at this point in my career. I have not submitted one offer, not one, without calling the agent first. I don't care how low it is. I don't care if it's an REO. I don't care if it's a property that's selling for 40 grand. It's like, who cares about it? I don't care what the deal is, no matter what. I've always called to talk to the agent first, because you need to build rapport with them. I'm not calling to tell them about the offer. I'm calling to make sure they like me before I give them a crappy offer that they're not going to like, in their opinion, right? I don't feel like it's a crappy offer. I feel like it's perfect for the condition, but you need to build rapport with them, and that's what I'm doing. I'm getting them to like me. So that's what those phone calls do. Anyway, point being, this one, my best deal ever. I present the offer. She swears at me. 10 minutes, she calls me back. They accepted. I can't believe it. Oh my God! And she was 10 minutes prior was swearing at me, telling me I'm wasting everybody's time. They will never take this low of an offer. Oh my God. Now that's an extreme example of an agent, but that's the point, is the agents never, ever, ever know what the seller's bottom line is, what their motivation now is. It's been a year. Do they care about it? So just always be super cool. Always be confident without being cocky, and you will get a lot. And building rapport with these agents is a huge part of it, especially with estate sales. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk just for a couple minutes here, and we're going to talk maybe about some tactics. Like, what do you think, I know you train people on this, so you've obviously done this a lot of times yourself. What makes people more willing to accept your offer? Like, what are your, is it the ability to kind of move fast? Is it some of the things you've already talked about, building rapport with the agent? Maybe just kind of at a high level, give us like the top kind of 3 or 4 things that would make somebody look at yours or consider it. I know you also said a little bit ago that people have accepted your offer when they maybe have higher offers, but there's some reason that they see that's not necessarily money, but something else.
The biggest contributor, once you have MLS access or you have your way of buying MLS deals, the biggest contributor to your success in there will be speed. How quickly you can get to the deal. And the best deals, REOs, foreclosures, estate sales, regular sales, quartered sales, whatever, are going in hours. The best ones always. And some REOs and foreclosures are pre-sold, and that is one method. But speed, no matter what, it is always very, very important. Estate sales, which are my favorite sale in the MLS, and that's what we're talking about as far as sales, that on estate sales, where somebody's died, either, you're dealing with the seller is the widower, or you're dealing with the heirs of the estate, which are usually the kids. And one I just bought was from the niece, the 2 nieces that, the guy didn't ever had any kids. They kind of felt like they didn't even deserve the money. I think they're going to give it to charity because they both were like, I can't believe he gave it to me kind of thing. And so they don't even care about it. They want as much money as possible, because why wouldn't they? But they're just going to give it away, I think. But either way, the point is that when you're presenting the offer, or even like on an estate sale, I know the best one's going hours, and you say, well, why wouldn't they wait for the weekend to see how many offers come through or whatever? Well, in a estate sale, in most cases, like the one I just explained was a deal I put under contract last week. So that's a little rare where they're not tied to the money. Usually there is, or they're not really tied to the house because they didn't grow up there. But usually the heirs of the estate have grown up in the house. They did live there. Their parents lived there for 30, 40, 50, 60 years in some cases. And so the money is not the most important thing. They want the money, don't get me wrong, but the most amount of money is not the thing. They want to know that the house is going to be cared for by a real estate investor that knows his stuff, that's not going to trash their house, that's not going to beat them up on that price, that is going to sell it to a nice young couple or a nice young family who's going to live there for 30 or 40 or 50 years, just like their parents did. Right. That stuff, those emotional triggers, this is an
How do they know that
sale.
about you or your offer, though? I mean, are you putting that into your offer that you're going to do that, or how do they know that?
Well, I convey that so as soon as an estate sale lists and I'm on my way, or if I'm sending somebody, I call the agent immediately, like just to build a rapport. Hey, I'm trying to find out as much as I can. Agents will usually tell you more than they should. Just keep asking questions. If you have a good agent, they'll shut you down, no problem. But be respectful about it. Okay, I kind of joke if I'm asking something about offers and any good ones, and to kind of feel that stuff out.
Yeah. Now, when you call an agent as an agent, are you telling them that you are the buyer, or do you kind of make them believe you're representing somebody else? Okay.
Nope. I always tell them it's me. See, okay. I'm the agent. I'm also the buyer. I'm a cash buyer. I'm a real estate investor. It's my primary business these days. And so there is a cover letter that goes with, the offer. But everything that's contained in the cover letter, I've already conveyed to the agent over the phone. I just don't know if they conveyed it properly to the seller. So when I scan the entire offer, or my assistant scans the entire offer, they'll see the cover letter that says the same thing. We're a residential redevelopment company. We have roots in the community. I live in the community. All the good stuff that's true. And then, my houses sell for full retail value. So the people that buy houses for full retail value are young couples and young families, in my market at least. And I think that's most markets around the country. So I can confidently say that's who I'm going to sell it to. Plus, I say that I would be happy to invite them back to the property so they can see the work I do. I encourage them to go to my website to see, other finished rehab products that I've done. And the part about them being able to come back, they always love that. So once I present the offer, I present it as the best offer I can. I say, I understand that you are, you want every penny out of this because, there's 3 or 4 or 5 heirs or whatever. And I understand it. I'm going to give you my best shot. I can close in 2 weeks. I've already had the guy I send through is usually my project manager, or I will send, I'll send the project manager with the contractor we're going to use to look. All I care about is structural stuff. That's it. Structural, and I need to know if there's mold in the attic, and I don't care about that either, but I need to know it's there because it costs me money to fix. Yep. And structural stuff, which, structural stuff, depending on what it is, I may or may not buy it. But point being, if there's not structural, it's just cosmetic, it's easy. It's easy to, estimate that once especially once you've been doing it for a while. So I tell them I waive the inspection. But we can literally, if you accept my offer, we can just schedule the closing. 2 weeks less, as fast as your attorney can pull the title, we can get this thing closed. So there is the ease of no trouble that comes with my offer. And I also highlight, I'll give you an example of what I did shortly ago. I bought it for $160. It was listed at $169.9. I did the whole thing I just told you, and they wanted to come back and see the house. They liked that. They liked me already. They wanted to sell me the house. So they said, hey, they're like, Jim, we like you. We want you to buy the house. We think you're the guy to do it. However, we have 2 more offers one at $170 and one at $175, both cash. And I said, if you meet the 170, we'll sell it to you. And I said, I appreciate that and thank you. But like I told you, I gave you my best shot, and I cannot pay a penny more than 160. And I'll tell you that I get my work done for as cheap as anybody because I'm a professional rehabber. I've been doing this a long time. But let's assume the guys at 170 and 175 are the same way. Let's assume that they get their work done as cheap as I do. I cannot pay more than 160 and make this deal work. So do you think there's a chance that they might, especially the guy at 175, that his plan might be to get you under contract? Because I'm sure they didn't waive the inspection, which they never do. So you can kind of say that like, I'm sure they didn't waive the inspection. And then they're going to ask you for a $20,000 inspection credit, which puts their 175 at 155. And I'm at 160 today right now, and I can close in 2 weeks with no problem. But if you call me back in 2 weeks when this guy starts, jerking around on the home inspection, now all of a sudden that, I might have spent that money on something else because I don't have unlimited funds and I'm going to go tie up another property. Right. So you might call me and I can't even buy it. Or in 2 weeks, I might be like, you know what? That guy's right. I'm actually at 150 myself now because I misjudged.
They might discover something in that inspection that they need to disclose. Yeah.
And so I'm like, so I say like I can close at 160 today in 2 weeks from today, but in 2 weeks if you call me, I can't guarantee any of that. And so that's how I get my offer accepted when I'm not the highest offer. And by the way, all that is true. That happens all the time to these sellers. So all I'm doing is educating them on what's going on in the process because they don't do it for a living. And I tell them what to expect. And I can't tell you how many times they don't accept my offer and they call me back in 2 weeks and they, oh my God, you were right. We're feel like idiots. They were $50,000 one time. They were asking for an inspection credit. This is outrageous. And is your offer still good? And, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. It just depends. I mean, I'll always find, if the deal's right, I will always find the money. Even if most of my private funds are tied up, I'll always come up with more. I'll use hard money to buy it. But the point is that is part of the urgency and the takeaway that you need to get them to accept your offer. And literally half the time on estate sales, I am not the highest cash offer. And that's how it's done. It's just with proper communication, really. Yeah. It's saying the right stuff to the agent to make sure that they like you, because you don't get to talk to the seller in this case. So Jim,
Do you do much with kind of off-market listings or pocket listings or things like that as part of your program that you teach and part of what you obviously practice yourself? Yeah. I know you talk a lot about the MLS, but I know there's a lot of people that buy stuff before it ever even hits the MLS. So is that a part of your system as well?
Yes. Well, I don't know if you're talking about deals that come into the MLS, because that's what that's primarily what I'm teaching here, but. So the REO stuff, the foreclosures, specifically the smaller foreclosure agents, those guys, now they are, when I say smaller, the guys do 15 foreclosure deals or less a year. That is your target for a small REO agent. Maybe up to 25, but beyond that, they're probably doing volume on other stuff. Like they're a good agent at that point, and they're not going to care. Like there's agents in my market that I bought 20 houses from that they do 600 deals a year because he's like the biggest guy in our market for REO stuff. He does most of the ones we see. That guy will never double on a deal because he could care less about it. He does such a high volume, it doesn't even matter. Yeah. And I used to try to get that guy on the phone until I realized that you can't ever get him on the phone. I don't even know if he's still alive, but his office runs very, very well without him answering the phone ever. But the smaller guy, now you can get him on the phone. And you can get him, and when you tell him that, I'm a real estate investor, that, it's me, I'm an agent, so I say, even though I'm a licensed agent, I don't ever take a commission. You can always double in the deal. Double end means they can take both sides of the commission. So they, obviously they're going to make a lot of money. And on a foreclosure agent, the payout to the buyer side is usually 2.5% or 3%. The payout on the seller side, we don't really know on REOs, but I have a lot of friends that are REO agents, and they make usually, after their all expenses and their everything, they make less than 1% on their side. Now, if they're doing a volume, it all adds up, and so the bank does not pay them full commission. But if you're giving them 2.5% or 3%, they're literally doubling or tripling their income on that one deal. So of course there's going to be, so when you see those foreclosure deals that sell an hour after it went on the market, that was pre-sold, right? Because I get calls from my agent buddies, hey, I got this property at 123 Main Street. I got it listed Friday at noon. Here's the combo. Go see it, Wednesday. Let me know if you can put the offer. I think you can pay list price based on what you do with these houses. I think list price is fair. Yeah. They're letting me price it well. I think you'd pay it. If you can pay list price, we can lock it up right away. That happens to me all the time. And it could happen to you too. It's just a matter of, setting yourself up for that. And, you got to close on deals. You cannot, especially with REO agents, you cannot back out. After you put it under contract, you cannot back out of that deal. If you ever back out of a deal, you will never hear from that agent again, and they'll tell the banks, that you get on a blacklist, and it's no joke. Yep. Like you will be blacklisted. So don't put it under contract if you don't think you can buy it. Don't offer more than you're comfortable with, and you can never back out because that'll be the end of you and that agent.
Yeah. We have a blacklist. We've maintained a blacklist for a long time. Like agents we won't work with, lenders we won't work with, or like if they're involved, no, we're not interested in working with you.
No, I know. I'm telling you, this is not a joke. The REO agents, they share it. Like they know because it makes them look bad to the asset manager who might dump them as a client, meaning they will stop giving them deals if they feel like they're not properly marketing them, or they're accepting the offers or telling the bank to accept offers from people who back out. So it makes them look bad, and it might actually dig into their income, and they might lose that account altogether. That is why it's such a big deal.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Jim, hey, we're running long on time here, and I want to talk about. I know we talked beforehand, and you offered. I want to talk a little bit about your MLS Domination product that you're launching right now. But I know you're going to give everybody on FlipNerd here a workbook, and it's I think you said it's called the Fundamentals of How to Work the MLS, right?
Yeah, right. Just like it's all the basics. Kind of we touched on some of the stuff today, but again, when people say to me, what I hear the most when I tell them I get 75% of my deals out of the MLS as a real estate investor, they say there's no good deals in the MLS or it's too competitive, right? And all that means to me is they don't have the education, because it is a lot of work. And the reason I'm so good at it is because I was an agent first. I knew the ins and the outs of the MLS as an agent really, really good. I knew how to work it all. And so once I became a real estate investor, the only transition was there. I had to start looking at it in a different way. And that one deal the only reason I got that one on Sand Pebble that I mentioned at the beginning of this interview was because I was desperate. I didn't have the money. You know what I didn't finish about that too? Crazy. I lost 36 grand on Friday, right? A Friday, let's just call it Friday. But so I owned that property for like over a year. It was a nightmare. On the day before, Thursday, I closed and we made like 75 grand, which half of that was mine. So I actually never lost money for real. It was kind of a wash, and I never looked back. But that's a true story.
Yeah.
That really happened.
Yeah.
So
wow.
The fundamentals, what it covers is all the basic stuff, and I go over more keyword stuff. There's keyword stuff in the handbook as far as the keywords that I use. You can use those in your MLS searches. It just really, you could search through your own MLS and you'll see the keywords that come up. And beyond that, I also teach people that they should be looking at the MLS, if you're a serious real estate investor, 3 times a day. If you need to buy properties manually, like whatever your sweet spots are, like, if it's where you grew up, like me in Schaumburg, I watch because I can tell a property in Schaumburg's value like this, and lots of the surrounding areas too. So I look at everything there. So there's it teaches every little way. This has been a lifetime, or feels like it, 8 years of learning the MLS as a real estate investor. It's everything that works. I could show you guys 250 things that don't work, but you probably don't want to see that. I just kind of focus on the stuff that does work, and that's what MLS Domination is.
Yeah, awesome,
so the keyword stuff, if they click on the link, they'll get the keyword stuff that I'm talking about too. So they'll get everything they need. The course here, the 3 content videos that they all have access to now are, tell them to click on it and look at the remarks below those videos. Those are real people that have been going through the video saying, oh my, just the content on there is unreal. So I was just trying to over deliver for everybody, and you'll see that happen.
Awesome. So we'll add a link down below the video here. And for those of you that are listening, if you're listening on iTunes or somewhere else, we'll set up it'll be flipnerd.com. It actually is flipnerd.com/MLS Domination. So no spaces or anything. Flipnerd.com/MLS Domination. And you're going to get a copy of Jim's free workbook on the fundamentals of how to work the MLS. And he has some other training videos there as well. So make sure you check that out down below here. So Jim, anything we missed today? I know we missed a lot of stuff. Obviously, we can't fit it all into, we've been on for about 45 minutes now. But what any kind of final words of wisdom you want to share with us that we didn't cover yet today?
Yeah, again, it always goes back to people wanting the easy button, and there is no easy button for anything that's worth doing. I got my goal wall here at my office that I'm looking at right now, and I have a bunch of quotes that keep me motivated. And 2 of the ones that are on here that have helped me get through, and one's from Tony Robbins. It says success is buried on the other side of frustration, right? Success is buried on the other side of frustration.
Yeah.
I think about that constantly in my life. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always doing something different, something new. And guess what? Things are constantly frustrating when you're trying new things that are difficult and you're learning how to do it. And it's helped me get through a ton. So just remember that, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And we want it to be difficult because we like to cash big checks. So keep that in mind. But then also there's actually one from Wayne Gretzky that in Wayne Gretzky hockey, I'm not a big sports guy, but he says, he has if you look at his stats, he has the most goals by I think it's 200 plus. And he played 100 games less than guys that are in second place. It's crazy how his stats are skewed. But he's made more goals and missed more goals than anybody else. And he says you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Yep. And I've used that as my business motto since I got into business, 11 years ago, and it has served me very well. So, don't be afraid to take some risks. It's going to take some work, so make sure you have the time to do it. But as long as you got the time to do it and the time to set aside, it doesn't take a lot of time either. It's not like you need a full, this is hours a week you can get this stuff done and really learn a lot. So just, don't get too frustrated because it is a frustrating process learning something new. But real estate investing, if it was easy, we wouldn't have big checks to cash. So we want it to be hard.
And particularly with MLS type deals, you may have, you might as well make a lot of offers. You've got nothing to lose, but you want to do your homework and you don't want to have to back out of anything. But generally, until you have a signed contract that's executed, it's not a real deal. So, worst case scenario, they say yes, right? And then you're like, Oh shit, let me double check those numbers.
Yeah, no, right. No, right. Well, even still, like just don't put an offer out that you can't even on the deals.
Sure.
I don't go see every deal anymore. But for the first 4 years I did this, I did go see every deal, or somebody from my team did.
Yep.
But now we will submit some offers, because if I assume it's a gut rehab, it's a 3,000 square foot house, and I got to do roof, window, siding, and an interior gut, plumbing, and electric. I know what that's going to cost me in my market, So I can put some offers out where if they accept it, I'll go see it right away and I'll be fine with it. But
right.
But still, yeah, it doesn't just put your offer low. It's a numbers game. Even the detailed structure offers I put out, I get 10% of. If I need to buy one property, I got to put out 10 offers. I just bought 3 properties in the last week, and I bought them in 6 days. And I got lucky. I only put out about 20 offers total to buy those 3 properties. So I didn't have to go quite to the 10%. I'm a little better on that. But I got lucky because we have limited inventory, and that was all speed, by the way. Every one of those deals was speed. It was how quickly I got to them, how quickly I called the agent. The quick closing, the waiving the inspection. There's all those little things that factor in, and that's it. And it's also something. Excuse me. Sometimes if you hear that they've already rejected 3 offers, that gets me excited. You don't let that get you discouraged. Sometimes it's all timing, right? The first 3 offers might be the exact same as yours, but now they see it and it's finally like, okay, are you crazy? Meaning, like, this is the 4th offer, it's the same price. If you think you're going to get any higher than this, you're crazy. And so now it's time to accept the offer. So sometimes it happens in the 3rd, sometimes it's the 5th. If they reject. So just because an agent tells you that they've rejected 3 or 4 offers, don't take that as a negative. I take that as a positive, and I hope that I'm now there at the right time. So I'll leave you guys with that.
You're breaking them down.
Yeah, exactly. Just take some time. And something, it's like anything. It's about timing. It's like direct mail,
Awesome. Well, hey, Jim, really thanks for spending a lot of time with us today, and good luck with your launch here, your MLS Domination launch. And everybody, I know that Jim puts a lot into all of his products and his training and stuff like this. He's really passionate about this. So please check out flipner.com/MLS Domination to get a copy of Jim's free book, The Fundamentals of really how to work the MLS and how to get more deals off the MLS. And if you joined us today, I definitely appreciate you being here. We'll see you on an upcoming show. Jim, thanks one more time for being with us, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Bye.
Have a great day. All righty. Bye-bye.